Hello, everyone. It's been a long time coming, and I know what you're thinking. Why are we revisiting the case of Mikey Ko again? Hasn't he been extradited out of the country? What are some of the questions that we need answered from this case? Well, guess what? I have a solution for you, and it's already in my hands right now. Hello, everyone. My name is Braden Bear-Lents, and I am, or was at one time, a journalist for the Indiana Daily Student. But at one time in my life, I also attended school with the kid we know as Mikey Ko, who is now an adult. This was supposed to be a project that was just meant for me to get all of the crap out about Mikey as we could. Now, since the calendar month is turning to May and we are about to experience another spring and a number where kids are where the we are about to experience another spring where over I think it's a 35 million Americans are going to graduate from high school, probably attend camps in the summer, probably attend camps at Indiana University. And anywhere in the country, you're going to have safety problems and issues, even on a normal day in college. But this story was so different because I experienced it firsthand. I experienced the pain and the loss of innocence in life, both internally and externally. I also saw the differences between myself and Mr. Ko, and I also experienced the differences between men and women. This was such an impactful project that if I would have gotten this done a few months ago, even a few days back in 2021, I would never have done it and finished it in December. Part of that was because at the time I was a student at Vincennes University, also known as Vincennes Junior College, and I was on break during that time. I think that was the semester before I went to IU. So I went to IU in 2022, got dismissed that fall, and then had to basically bounce back into the school by going to Ivy Tech Community College and then heading back to IU in the fall of 2023, where I had spent up to that point 2 semesters at Ivy Tech, and I've been at IU 90% longer than the two schools I mentioned, and I am about to, after all of this time, energy, and money that we have spent and really revitalized ourselves to become, my family is feeling better. And most importantly, I'm about to graduate from Indiana University with my degree. So, yes, that's a huge difference compared to somebody who I'm talking about in this podcast who has now been extradited to South Korea. And now I look back on that old me and I say to myself, goodness, I heard a lot of stuff on that podcast, the UnChained Part 1 podcast, where I really wanted to hammer down what I want you to know, what I need you to know, and all the varied opinions that have changed over the years. And even to include that, in the summer of 2024, I had an individual contact me about Mikey Ko, and he was fortunate and actually gracious enough to send me a digital text message through Facebook, through Messenger. And him and I talked for several minutes about what was happening with Mikey Ko. I've also seen other reports come out about him that I wanted to bring up on the podcast as soon as we can. And it's going to be a lot of me talking, but also a lot of artificial intelligence talking, and a lot of you talking on social media. I want you to spread this out, spread the word to it, because the first podcast did so well that I thought, why can't I not bring this back again? It was so successful. Yet, in a way, after this podcast is over, I don't want to ever have to talk about this story ever again. The family of the victim does not want me to bring this up again. And this, I will say, for certain, because of the fact that her family, along with myself, want to move on from this pain. In a way, the trauma of it for the woman is definitely something I want to characterize. And the entire time I've posted the podcast, I was overzealous at the time. I was very overzealous about promoting it and didn't know much about podcasting up to that point, how it operates, how it works, how we need to protect some line of information. I just shared what happened to me in Tri North Middle School and at Bloomington North and South High School. I was not here to explain what was happening to the girl. I just wanted to bring my perspective to the forefront. And this time, we have some members talking to us about what had happened with him and what's been going on with him in prison, what's been going on with him in jail, and most importantly, what's been going on in the Court of Appeals in the state of Indiana, how they cracked down on Ko, and also a lot of the police and law enforcement. I want to address how they were bringing this up after the 2024 Court of Appeals investigation by the state of Indiana. And it's very important to me, it has been important to me, to get the truth out about this. And I did. I did back in 2021. But there is still a lot of loose leaves. We got to keep going here. We got to keep digging through the weaves and bring up things that I did not bring up back in 2021 or in 2023. So I would love to say it. We are bringing the pod back. Welcome to UnChained Part 2. Welcome to UnChained Part 2, A New Interest. Our first podcast will come out on May 14th. So it's going to be a while as soon as we get that podcast out, but it will be here to listen to on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well, where the majority of the crowd has been listening to our pod since it got started back in June of 2021. Since then, I never thought else about anything related to podcasting besides this project. We have another one on the way. It's called Mondays with Liz, and that podcast will come out a week before this one. I would love to bring up the story of a woman who had interacted with Mikey Ko back in high school. Her name was Elizabeth Von Buchler, who has since passed away. And more on that in that podcast called Mondays with Liv, where the first episode will come out of the podcast on her birthday on May 8th. So on the very day that we do have the opportunity to share about her life, we're going to get straight into the UnChained podcast on the 14th. But I don't want that to override on the 2 to 3 part episodes that I had planned for Mondays with Liz. And now we have to talk about Mikey, and we will. One last time. I'm not doing this again. If I hear any requests of me doing this again, I might deny them unless there's new cryptid information that I need to know about, that I need to resurface and bring back up to the table. And if you have that, please message me on YouTube or on Facebook. Please do so, because if we get the word out about this a lot more, I think it would help if there is more information. But this is the last time I am bringing this up. There's nothing else I want to mention about this case. There's nothing else I want to bring up to the forefront about this case. And there is nothing I want to do for this case besides just mention the 3 parts and let the whole thing go. Because I'm ready to move on. And I bet the family's ready to move on. And we just all want to start our lives. I've grown up a lot to where I don't want to think about the past. But for right now, and for 3 parts, we're going to make it somewhat present. We're going to bring back the story of a rapist, a bully, and a classmate. It's timed to be unchained once again. Coming out on May 14th. anywhere you get your podcasts.